Hello, everyone. My guest today is Chad Burmeister. He's the CEO and founder of a company called Scalex.ai. He's equipping today's modern sales professionals with AI-powered sales strategies and technologies to dominate their market. As CEO, he's responsible for building a next-generation AI for sales company that enables salespeople to be 10 times more productive. Chad, you ready to take us to the top?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. Sales marketing space is extremely fragmented. What kind of cohort are you carving out for yourself here?
Well, there's funded startups that have to penetrate their market and figure out their message and market fit. And so we help startups go out, figure out their messaging, and then accelerate their ability to go to market. Mm-hmm. And then we also help public companies who drive thousands and thousands of leads get with those leads quicker and more effectively to 2 to 3 times their conversion rates.
Do you consider yourself a SaaS company, or are you more a managed professional service?
We're right on the edge.
Yeah.
We provide services, but we also offer a recurring revenue SaaS subscription model.
Well, so let me ask you, over the past 12 months, if you look at your total revenue, what % was SaaS versus the other one?
50-50.
Oh, it really is 50-50. Wow. Okay, let's just focus on SaaS for today's interview. So on your SaaS product, on average, what are folks paying per month for that?
On average, they're spending about $3,000 per user per month.
Okay, 3. And is it mostly one user for a team, or is it more than one?
It typically what happens is a company looks to us to do a 90-day pilot program with our people, our technology, our data. We configure the solution for them. And then after 90 days, we package it up and then give it back to them to take over the program. What happens is most of the time companies have 6, 8, 10 internal business development people, and then they learn that they can actually do the work with 2. So that's what we show them outside the 4 walls, package it up, hand it off, and then they get a very massive improvement in pipeline and a massive improvement in reduction in cost.
So instead of looking at the per seat price, give me the per company, right? Per company. On average, what's a company pay you across all their seats per month?
Yeah, on average, about $72,000. So typically there's a couple of seats in a company.
Yes, it's like $6,000 a month, so about 2 seats
that we offer. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Put this stuff on a timeline for me. When did you launch?
We launched in December of 2017. So it's been about 15, 16 months.
That's good. And over that time frame, how many customers have you signed up?
100 clients.
That's great. Okay. So 100 clients. And I mean, can I take 100 times that $6,000 price point you just gave me? You're doing what, $600,000 a month?
We are not quite at $600,000. I would say about 40% of our customers are in that range. And then another 60% of customers purchase either the social platform, the email platform, or the dialing platform. Mm-hmm. So we do offer smaller packages than the $6,000 a month plan.
Okay. What are the other things you just mentioned? Are those like $100 a month or $500 a month, or what do those come out to typically?
On average, $500 a month. Yeah.
Okay.
I looked at your chart that you posted yesterday about the SaaS.
Yeah, I saw you. You left a good comment about someone that moved. You said downstream or upstream?
Yeah, RingCentral moved upstream. So They did a lot of freemium, and it was under $500. And I remember the head of the chairman of the board would come into the quarterly meetings and say, guys, this is going to be really, really hard for you to pivot from SMB free trial downloads up to, $100,000, $500,000, $1 million deals. And the company made the pivot. And
over how long? How many years did it take them to make that pivot?
It took 2 quarters.
Okay, how did they actually do that? And help me understand where you're getting this information from. Were you a board member and you had firsthand knowledge of this?
So I was the director of inside sales at RingCentral from about 2015 to 2017. And so, I saw that transformation.
So what actually happened? But you start off with a bunch of free signups and you're going, we want to turn these free $5 a month people into $500,000 a year customers.
Well, we built an outbound team. So I was responsible for creating small, medium, and large, right? We call it mid-market, majors, and enterprise. And it was pure outbound. The first step was to identify the ICP.
Which is that? What's what?
Folks, the ideal customer profile, right? The ideal customer profile. Then go out and build a team of specialists to go outbound into those companies. And we went from $300,000 or $400,000 and higher customers to pages and pages of $100,000 plus customers.
So just to be clear, was that team selling, they were scanning the free user signups for domain names that were from big companies that have signed up for free, or no, they ignored the free user base altogether and just outbound directly to people that were enterprise? It was
really a pivot to outbound directly. Sure, there's some inbound from those large companies, but for the most part, it was mainly outbound.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. So let's get back to you. So you said 40% of your 100 customers are paying the $6,000 a month. That's $240,000 a month right there in revenue, correct?
Yes.
And then the other 60 of the 100, you said about 60% paying, call it between, 500-ish a month for your other tools. That's another 30 grand a month in revenue. So you're doing 270 a month right now, something like that?
Yeah, we're just about 200,000 a month is the actual number.
Fair enough. And what's growth look like year over year? So a year ago, what were you doing?
Yeah. So the first year we started, we did 337 in December of 17. Last year we did 1.45 million. This year we're targeted to do 2.5 to 2.6.
Okay. Last year, 1.45 million.
1.45 million.
And this year, 2.6.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I want to talk more about where you've driven that growth from. Actually, let's go there right now. So how are you signing up customers? Are you doing kind of outbound, inbound? What's it look like?
Yeah, good question. We drink our own champagne. I moved from the eat your own dog food to drink your own champagne phrase. So definitely drinking our own champagne. We use a virtual assistant model to send out emails and send out social connections. So all of the digital component of outbound, it's zeros and ones. And guess what? AI is better than you and I at writing emails and responding to emails. So 2/3 of the outbounding effort can now be outsourced to a bot. The other 1/3, I think that makes us highly unique over anybody else that's out there doing this, is that we partner with 10 to 20 years sales veterans, and we put them on the phones with the people who are opening, clicking, and replying to the emails that we're going outbound with. So we hand source our customer database rather than just relying on a bunch of inbounds from people that are probably disqualified.
Have you heard of Steve running Allyoop.io?
I have not.
Okay, interesting. They did, I feel like, something similar. He was just on the show with DiscoverOrg in terms of kind of running their outbound organization, and it scaled nicely. And he was similar to you in terms of revenue mix between professional services and software. Interesting.
Yeah, and we're a big fan of DiscoverOrg, by the way. That is our data strategy. So they do the best when it comes to phone and email that are validated by a human within the last 90 days. If you buy a cheap data source, there's tons of them for $99 a month right now, but they don't have direct dial phone numbers and they don't have demographics. DiscoverOrg's absolutely a huge part of our success.
Yeah. How much have you guys raised? Are you bootstrapped?
We're bootstrapped. We had a $50,000 loan that has been paid off free and clear. So life is good. We are getting approached by a number of investors right now. So we're open to the dialogue because I think we can grow a little bit faster than the $2.6 million clip. I think we can get to 10 within a couple of years rather than 3 or 4.
If you did raise now, what would be the right amount to raise?
500,000 is really what I would be looking for.
And why is that right?
Because we don't have to hire multiple salespeople. We hire a salesperson, right? Right now, I'm the company salesperson.
How many people total on the team?
3 full-time employees and several contractors that deliver the dials when we're doing the outbound. Mm-hmm. And then we also have people who monitor the digital bot communications. So, it's a highly leveraged model. You really only need one person sitting on top of about 20 campaigns.
How much are you taking? Like, are you talking, do you have like 10, 20, 30% EBITDA margins per month with only 3 people doing $2 million a year in revenue?
Yeah, very good EBITDA margins.
Yeah. I mean, is it like 30%-ish?
Yes.
So let me ask you a question, right? Why would you raise capital if you could just reinvest your own cash flow?
Well, that's what we've been doing. And truthfully, I'm working with an advisor to help me through that decision. The big reason is for strategic reasons, because the investors we're talking to are not the normal type of VCs. They're folks who have contact center relationships with very, very large companies. So it'd really be to, I'd like to hire a couple more a salesperson, a full-time dedicated BDR, and a customer success person. but it's not required, but just from a strategic perspective.
If you did raise 500 grand, what valuation would you like to raise at an ideal world?
$30 million 3 years out. I believe in 3 years we'll be doing 10 million, 3x multiple. We're not a 10x because of the mix of services revenue, but we're certainly a 3 to 5x.
So just to be clear, hold on. I want to make sure I understand that. You think you can raise today 500 on a 30 million pre, because 3 years from now you'll be 10 million, and you're doing basically a 3x multiple on where you'll be 3 years from now.
Correct.
Do you think you'll get term sheets at that?
Yes.
Okay, that's very surprising to me. Very rarely do I see a CEO be so convincing to convince VCs to give him a value. First off, a multiple at all. Secondly, a multiple on where revenue might be 3 years from now. How have you been able to convince investors to do that?
Well, the space is heating up beyond reasonable doubt. If you look at digital,
that could be a bad thing for you, though. That could mean more competition. Margins get sucked out of a system when there's more competition.
Well, there's some defensibility around agent-assisted dialing. It is a hard thing to build. Right? There's dial bots and there's bot dialing, but from our understanding of the world, that's illegal to auto dial businesses these days, especially if you're calling a mobile phone.
Do you have any physical term sheets on a 30 million pre right now?
I do not.
Okay. Yeah. So it's all kind of discussions.
It's discussions. So you may very well be right. That may be aggressive. I did have a dialogue with someone recently that said, they're willing to look at a 10 million. So
yeah, I would also just say too, by the way, like a lot of CEOs get stuck in this trap. They feel like, and I did this too, by the way, this is why I can talk so openly about it. I put it in my book on page 243 as a massive mistake. We almost like to brag about like how big we can get our valuation, but actually what becomes very difficult is you then have to grow into that valuation. Otherwise you're fucked. I mean, you have to do a down round or it's not pretty. So like sometimes actually a more conservative valuation, especially on your first round of capital, is actually much better leverage than a huge valuation.
Yeah, that's good advice. And you know what? I'll be honest. I've been the VP of sales of 3 or 4 different startups in the Bay Area, and I've had some interactions with boards and investor groups. I'm pretty new to it. So I just signed up, in fact, for an accelerator program yesterday.
Which one?
Called New Chip. They're pretty new kids on the block, but they seem to be very, very trustworthy. I talked to 2 or 3 references, and they highly recommend it.
Do they take equity?
I'm gonna go learn the rules of the game before I play.
Do they take equity?
No.
Okay. So what's the upside of the accelerator? Did they give you cash?
They have a crowdsource model on the back end. They do give one company cash at the end of the accelerator. But they introduce you to a crowdsource platform that, generally can raise quite a bit of money. I don't think I'm going to go the crowdsource route, but yeah, I just need to learn the rules of the game in terms of raising money.
What's your fully weighted CAC on a new customer that's going to pay you $2,000 a month?
My cost of acquisition for a $2,000 a month, I need to get a better answer on that one.
Or do you generally know how aggressive you're willing to be to get a new customer? Will you pay first year ACV up front to get the customer?
So far we've been very profitable company.
Well, you can be profitable and still have a 12-month payback period.
And still have a 12-month payback period. Yeah, good question. I haven't talked that through with my board yet.
Yeah. Wait, what do you mean board? You haven't raised any money.
Well, I have a board of advisors. I don't have a board of directors.
It's like a fake board. That's like use the board when you need to use it, but really it doesn't really matter. I mean, look, I would just make a note of this. I would ask your accelerator and your mentors, if I was where you are right now, I'd be greedy as hell and try and keep as much of my company as possible. You have cash flows. You could easily go raise 500 grand in venture debt. Now you're probably going to get something a little egregious from a Lighter or a SaaS Capital for somewhere between 20 and 30% effective APRs, but at least you keep your whole company. And if you know how to spend that money to get more than that back, then you still have the whole company. You drove growth with someone else's money.
Yeah. And that's really what I believe the company is talking to us about. They talked about a convertible note. Is that fit in the category you're talking about?
No, that's different. Convertible note, it converts to equity. That's where the name comes from. And that will typically be at you'll give them a 20% discount. You'll owe them 6% interest, which you never actually usually pay out of cash. It usually just accrues on the note value. And then that converts into the Series A valuation. But no, convertible note's different than venture debt.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
venture debt never converts to equity. You keep all of that's the upside. You keep all your equity.
Got it.
Yeah. So just something to think about, write down, have a conversation about.
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's wrap up with the famous five. Number one, what's your favorite business book?
Let me look at my bookshelf right here. I would have to say that my most recent favorite is Gap Selling by Keenan.
Number two, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
I've had a lot of success with Chris Beal at Connect and Sell. That's where I used to work. It's my alma mater. He's highly numbers driven, and he's always said for 10 years, the conversation matters. Yep. So Chris Beal.
Number three, what's your favorite online tool for building your company besides your own?
I like Quiller. It's a proposal tool that integrates to Salesforce, and it got video embedded, QWILR.
Yep. Number four, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
I get between 7 and 8 hours of sleep every night.
That's good. And what's your situation? Married, single, kids?
Married with kids, 17-year-old and a 16-year-old.
Good. And how old are you?
I am 46.
Last question, Chad. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
I would have kept more of the stock of the companies that I've worked for, because I would probably be worth $20 to $30 million right now if I would have kept a few of those stocks that I was awarded. And so the second part of that is I would have learned to be a CFO a little better, to manage my monies, so that I would have had $20 million in the bank by now.
Scalex.ai serving 100 customers, paying on average $2,000 a month, so $200,000 a month right now in revenue. That is up from about $90,000 a month just a year ago, and closing out 2018 with about $120,000 a month. That's up from, again, total revenue in 2017 of $375,000 in total revenue. Again, AI for sales platform, team of 3, revenue per employee through the roof, which I love. Basically, really bootstrapped, taking about, call it $60,000 a month to the bottom line. So cash flow positive. Chad, it's a nice place to be, man. Thanks for taking us to the top.
I appreciate you.